When you think of the biggest, most powerful weapons of World War II, what pops into your head? Giant tanks, right? Massive battleships? But what if I told you that one of the most impactful weapons of the entire war was something you could barely even see? Something that hunted in the dark, silent depths of the ocean.
You know, for hundreds of years, the rule of the sea was pretty simple. The nation with the biggest ships, the most powerful guns, and the largest fleet, well, they were the ones in charge. Naval combat was basically a heavyweight boxing match, fought right out there on the open water.
And that's the question that just changes everything. Because in World War II, a new kind of threat emerged from beneath the waves. A silent hunter that was about to rewrite the rules of naval warfare forever.
We are talking, of course, about the German U-boat. And look, this wasn't just a new type of ship. It was an entirely new philosophy of war that turned the vast, empty oceans into terrifying and deadly hunting grounds.
So, you might be wondering, why did Germany bet so heavily on this new weapon? Well, they kind of had to. In a straight-up fight, Germany was hopelessly outmatched. The Allies had way more ships and much bigger guns, meaning a traditional naval war was one Germany was pretty much guaranteed to lose. They needed a game changer.
And that answer was the Unterseeboot, or undersea boat, what we all know as the U-boat. This wasn't just another ship for their navy. It was a completely different kind of weapon, designed specifically to bypass the Allies' strength and attack their greatest weakness.
See, the U-boat's core purpose wasn't to fight other warships head-on. Its mission was something else entirely. It was designed to travel unseen, to strike without warning, and to cripple the enemy by cutting off their vital supplies. This made it the perfect asymmetric weapon, a way for a weaker force to exploit an opponent's vulnerability instead of confronting their strength.
And that right there gets to the crucial point. The U-boat shifted the entire focus of the war at sea from ship-to-ship battles to economic warfare. The target wasn't the Royal Navy's big, scary battleships. It was the thousands of merchant ships carrying food, fuel, and weapons to Britain. The goal was simple and absolutely brutal: starve the island nation into surrender.
So, how did a relatively small number of U-boats manage to threaten the entire Allied war effort? Well, they didn't hunt alone. They used a revolutionary and, frankly, terrifying tactic known as the wolf pack. The tactic was a deadly game of hit and run. First, a single U-boat, the Scout, would find a convoy. But instead of attacking by itself, it would radio the location to other U-boats in the area. Once the pack gathered, they'd coordinate a massive surprise attack, often surfacing at night where they were faster and harder to spot. They would fire off their torpedoes and then crash dive, vanishing back into the depths before the escorts even knew it hit them.
This deadly hunt triggered the Battle of the Atlantic, which became the longest, most grueling, and you could argue one of the most important campaigns of the entire war. For 6 long years, control of the Atlantic shipping lanes was the absolute key to Allied survival.
And the wolf packs were just devastatingly effective. In the early years of the war, U-boats sank thousands of Allied ships, sending millions of tons of crucial supplies straight to the bottom of the ocean. For a time, it really seemed like Germany's strategy might actually work.
Facing potential defeat, the Allies were forced into a desperate race against time. They had to find new ways to fight an enemy they often couldn't even see. This was a battle of technology and tactics just as much as it was of ships and sailors. I mean, this was the central problem they had to solve. The U-boat was a predator, an ambush hunter. How could the Allies possibly turn the tables and begin hunting these silent killers themselves?
The answer came in a huge wave of innovation. They developed sonar to ping for submerged submarines. They came up with depth charges to attack them once they were found, and they built small escort carriers to provide crucial air cover far out in the Atlantic. They also perfected the convoy system, grouping merchant ships together with armed escorts for, safety in numbers.
The fight against the U-boat fundamentally changed naval warfare forever. It was no longer just about who had the biggest guns. Victory now depended on detection, communication, and coordinating these incredibly complex operations across vast stretches of ocean.
So, the U-boat may have ultimately been defeated, but its impact didn't end in 1945, not even close. Its success created a lasting legacy that continues to shape naval forces all around the world today.
What the U-boats proved, beyond any doubt, was that the submarine was not just some support vessel. No, it could be a dominant strategic weapon, capable of bringing a global power to its knees. And that was a lesson that was not lost on the world's navies.
You can trace a direct line from this history to today. The strategic threat of the WWI U-boat led directly to the development of the nuclear-powered submarine, which was a cornerstone of Cold War deterrence. And today, those advanced stealth submarines represent the very pinnacle of underwater dominance for major world powers. Ultimately, the story of the U-boat is the story of a complete paradigm shift. It showed the world that in the modern era, true naval power was no longer just about size and strength, but about who could strike unseen. And that is a lesson that continues to define the silent battlefields beneath the waves.